We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast with interesting people. And being blessed to be an international speaker and author, traveling all over the world, I've met some really interesting people. But Lou Costabile, I'm telling you, this guy, words can't even describe. like, like words can't even describe this guy. Um, I don't even know. It might come up during the conversation. It might not come up during the podcast about our first time we met. Man, that was interesting. That says, I think, a whole lot about a whole lot of things that really probably has no meaning about anything, but it's at least interesting to me. So, Lou, we could go in a whole bunch of different directions. We could go, about your martial arts, and we could do that. We could talk about your technology company. We could do that, or your CFO, group that you meet with. But my guess is that most people might be most interested in your cars. Um, and so, like Lou might be more passionate about his cars than I am about my 10 grandkids. I don't know. Um, but he does a lot more for his cars than I do for my grandkids. That I'll say. Oh, Lou, I don't know, like, when did you first know that you absolutely love cars?
I was watching Batman, and
Really?
it was the opener. And as they came down the pole, I was curious on the tights and things. But when they ran over to the Batmobile, I thought I too could be a superhero if I had that Batmobile at a young age. So um, I knew as I sat in my pajamas and watched that car, I said that shall be mine one day.
And you actually got to go ahead and get in the actual Batmobile. Um, Tell us about that experience.
So in 2013, George Barris actually sold it at Barrett Jackson. And going back to the level of passion that I had for the car, my wife said, for your Christmas gift, I'm sending you to Barrett Jackson to see the Batmobile, the actual one, that the number one Batmobile, as they call it, which was the one that Adam West and Burt Ward would drive around in on most of the TV scenes. So when I was looking at the car and taking some photographs of it, it turns out that apparently I had such intensity about me that a woman standing by the car said, "You really seem to like this thing." I said, "As a matter of fact, that's my favorite car of all time." And she said, "Would you like to meet George Barris? Because he's, sitting there and signing autographs." And I said, "Sure, I'd love to meet George Barris and talk about the car." And she says, "Well, I'm his daughter. Come on over and jump the fence, and I'll have you sit next to him." So I sat with George. I took a photograph with George quickly as he was signing autographs, and we had a short conversation, and it was extremely enjoyable. And then that evening, we were watching the car cross the block and sell for $4.2 million, dollars, add the $400,000, 10% on it. So for $4.6 million, dollars, a gentleman by the name of Rick Champagne was the winner after they flipped a coin to determine him and one other person who should be the final person, because the bidding kept going on between these guys. And they said, well, why don't we just flip a coin? One of us should get it. And this is going to get silly if we just keep upbidding each other.
Interesting. Interesting. And so, like, that was your first as a boy. So how did it grow from there?
Then my uncle came home with a 67 E-type Jaguar. Now, um, did I say my cousin? My
No.
my uncle. Okay, got
Yeah.
it. Got it correct. And our family was extremely conservative. And when my uncle came home with this British sports car that Enzo Ferrari had mentioned, it was one of the most beautiful things he'd seen. Of course, it wasn't a Ferrari. That I thought, oh my gosh, my Uncle Ken is going to get just pounded for my grandfather. He is not going to go for this. And at the same time, I was like, my Uncle Ken just did one of the coolest things I've ever seen. by bringing this, spoked wired, cigarette looking, super cool roadster home. So he became kind of an instant hero bringing a car home that, would never. I mean, this is a family that we're lucky to get a used Ford or a used Chevy, let alone coming home with a brand new, E-Type was like, and I think he like mortgaged their house or something to get it too. I was like, oh my God, he's no longer going to be part of our family, but boy, what a cool move.
And then it grew from there to what after that?
I think people who are car people, they just kind of enjoy mechanical things. And I think it's the shapes. I think it's the sounds. I think there's just something about it that makes it special for people. It's memories that they have, traveling to special places in their vehicle. It's freedom. At the time, it was freedom. Today, freedom is, I've got my phone stuck to my hand. I'm 21 years old, and freedom is I can go anywhere in the world with this thing. Look, I can be in Europe and I could be in this. So freedom today is your cell phone, but freedom back then was when you were 16. Matter of fact, at 15, 364 days, you were waiting for 365 days because you would then be at the driver's license facility getting your car so you could then, you know, get that freedom that you want. So, I mean, the passion is, for some people, they still have it, but back then it was freedom.
So it seems like your passion for cars is just it's insane. I mean it really is. Has it been like this most of your life, or is it getting more so? Or
Yeah, definitely more so. Although I run several different businesses, this is clearly the one I spend the most time on because it's just the most time consuming. And not only that, but it's the most fun. So, um, the quest now is when I go to car shows, and I go to car shows across the United States. Matter of fact, last year I went to Canada. So I guess technically now it's international. The key for me is trying to find the car along with the story that is super interesting. Like if you stop right there and go up just a bit, I just looking at this area right here, looking at the stories, you've got a 1966 Buick Wildcat celebrating 10,000 original miles. I mean, that's pretty crazy that someone has kept it this nice, and that was 7 months ago. Also, if you look down, staying in that same spot, these are just the stories on this little section. No, no, stay there. You've got the pink Nancy Sinatra, Frank Sinatra's daughter's car there, the pink Firebird. And then a couple over from there, you have a 1913 Bugatti. Now, to give you some understanding of a 1913 Bugatti, which is the blue one, if you went to the Bugatti Museum in France, they have about 42 Bugattis, as I understand it, because I haven't been there. But their earliest Bugatti is a 1920. This is a 1913, so it's 7 years earlier than the museum has. There were only 8 of them built, only 2 of them exist. Only this one that you see there runs, and we're riding in it. So not only riding in it, but we're sliding around a curve in it. So, I mean, the stories are, you know, if I told you these stories without a video, people would say, Lou, we have a padded room. We have a nice setup for you. Here's some medication, and we think you're going to enjoy Hotel Fluffy. So jump on in. We will slide food under the carpet, and you will get your meal on a daily basis. But when you actually can share the stories with people, then it's pretty special. That '53 Chevrolet Bel Air that's next to the Bugatti, this was a national award-winning car, and to find a '53 Chevrolet Bel Air convertible at this time is really hard. Everybody knows what a 55, 56, and 57 look like because you see them at car shows all the time. But the 53s, because of its design, was kind of forgotten. So to find a real cream puff like that just looks fantastic and is an award winner, you have to search. And that's kind of the fun of the channel is almost like, you've heard of Baskin Robbins and their different flavors. Well, the beauty here is that, I've been doing 3 cars a week for over 11 years, which is pretty Herculean from a YouTube standpoint.
So these are all videos you've seen the cars, you've ridden in many of them, so these are all experiences that you've had every one of these cars.
Yep.
Wow. Do you know anybody else on the planet that's as passionate as you are about cars?
Yeah, sure. There's, first of all, almost every car show you go to in America, people are, super passionate about their cars. And I understand people aren't passionate about their cars, right? I mean, some people play a sport that they really enjoy and they're passionate about that. Michael Jordan, obviously, with basketball or something like that. Although Michael Jordan does like cars too, by the way. But the point is that yeah, people are. Um, any car show has people who are super passionate about winning awards for their car and taking care of their car and loving on their car. So yeah, no, I'm not alone, which is why there's so many subscribers who watch me.
Right. So, Jay Leno comes to mind. Like
Yep.
that's a guy that like he seems really passionate about. I don't know how many cars, he has, but there's a lot of them. And I just am curious. I'm like it's I don't know. It's just like there's something special about somebody that is so passionate about cars and so many types of cars. Um, and it's like trying to understand that passion, and it's just intriguing to me.
Well, I mean, let's just take whether it's NASA or something like that. I mean, these people are passionate to get you to the moon, and they realize that if they screw it up, you don't get to the moon and you, well, kind of fly off into oblivion and you never get there anymore. So you have to be passionate about it. I call it a passion. My wife calls it a problem. So I guess it depends on how you look at it. She thought it was a problem until she started to see checks come in from YouTube, and then she was like, you better get out there and do more car shows, which meant that she wants another couch or something like that. So, she's passionate about a couch. I'm not passionate about a couch, but I am passionate about cars. And if cars get her a couch that makes her happy, then I am passionate that she's a little more happy. So
Right.
that helps me.
Oh, right. Right. I remember my two sons now who are adults, but two younger ones when they were smaller,
Yep.
younger, and they saw your car and they thought it was the coolest thing that
Stay right there. Just stay on that page, but keep telling your story. Go ahead.
they thought it was the coolest thing that this guy that their dad knew, um, he went ahead and traded a baseball car for that really cool looking car.
Yeah.
Um, so tell us that story.
Well, let's stay right there. So someone obviously was very passionate about this baseball card that I had, right? So they were willing to trade that for, what I needed, which was a car. Matter of fact, that was our actual discussion. He says, "What's it going to take to get this card?" You were sharing earlier that you have a friend who knows Jay Leno and he's coming to his theater and you said that there's a fee for that and I said, well, what's that fee? And it was a pretty nice size number and I said, well, all we need to do is come up with that same fee. So hopefully Mary Jo's going to work a little more, maybe overtime or something like that, and she can help us with getting to that fee, and we can go from there. And Kenny's joined us, so he can help Mary Jo, and that's how you get to Jay Leno. But if you look at this picture right here, you see Evel Knievel's Formula One wheelie dragster. And most people don't know that Evel Knievel was on anything other than a motorcycle. I know I didn't know that. So then here was this wheelie thing that he had. You have, by the way, on this same page, you see an early automobile history. It doesn't look like a car, but you see this three-wheeled bike, 1897. Okay. You got to pause for a second and realize gas stations were not around until 25 years later. So since you don't have gas stations, what does this thing run on? And it runs on something called heptane. Well, heptane is blows up at 93 degrees, and that vehicle was videoed in Arizona, which is a desert. So the gas tank is behind your rear end. So as you fill it with heptane, you hope that you don't blow your rear end off. So these are things you learn about cars. And now how many people are looking for an 1897 Didion Bouton? The answer is not many. But when you tell the story, people go, you know what? That's an interesting story. I'm not even interested in cars, but I am interested in seeing if Lou's going to get his rear end blown off. So let's find out how this works. So, stupid sells, and putting heptane in a car in a desert, that's got an interesting story. Will Lou blow up or not? So that makes it interesting. On that same page, you have five different generations of Batmobiles all sitting side by side by side. You also have a Jean Perrin vis-a-vis. For those of you who don't speak French, which I don't, you find out that vis-a-vis, as you can see in the seating of that, means face to face. So you could sit either on one side of the steering wheel, or there's actually a pad and a seat on the other side. So you can drive it in either direction vis-a-vis. So these are the things you find out from people who are passionate about cars, and even people who don't care about cars, as Mary Jo is smiling, find it fascinating and interesting to talk about, because Mary Jo now is going, I might be interested in cars too. And I find Lou much more interesting now that I've met him. So it's not me that's made Mary Jo so interested. It's the stories I tell her about this that she's going, all right, I'm stopping this video at some point today with Mark, and I am going out there and getting that hundred and something $1,000 for Jay Leno. And we will be sitting with Jay and Lou. I can't wait to be with you as your girl on your side. So, Mary Jo, you've got that Robin spot. I'll be Batman and we'll be just fine. Okay, Mark, you could sit in the background and you could be Alfred, and we'll call it a good day. All right, that all said, if you want to scroll down, Mark, we could just go over some of the stories of the cars. That seems to be enjoyable for Mary Jo. All right, let's stop right there. So the Tucker, the bottom one in the corner on the left there, is they only made 51 of those. There was a movie for Preston Tucker, and he kind of got squeezed out by the big three automakers at the time. Well, that car right there, if you can look at it, you can see there's a woman's face, big picture. That's Sally, which is Mel Martin, who owns an auto museum in Glendale, Arizona. His wife sadly passed away, but before she passed away, she says, Mel, you have to get a big one. And what her big one was a big car for the museum, something that people would come to the museum to see. So he bought a Tucker, and he named it Sally. And I got that video of it coming in on the reliable trailer and coming off the trailer. And basically, Mel is tearing up as the car comes in. So, there's a guy who's passionate about the cars as he tears up about the car and talks about how Sally wanted this car. And, I love my wife, so I got her this car for the museum.
Nice. All
Yeah.
right, two final questions. Um, One is, do you have a favorite car?
Yeah, the Batmobile, the 66 Batmobile.
And the second favorite?
Second favorite, if money were no object, I'd probably get an Enzo Ferrari.
Okay, gotcha. And then my final question is,
You want to go to like third favorite or fourth favorite, or
sure, what's your third favorite?
then I'd go with a Ford GT, probably an '06 or '05, '06.
Yeah.
Fourth would probably be a Viper, which I do have one of those. That was the one I could afford for that baseball card. And actually, I couldn't afford it. That guy swapped me for it. We could do this. There is a top 10 video, Lou's top 10. So I would
Mhm.
suggest for people who watch this, come to the YouTube channel,
Right,
subscribe,
right.
type in My Car Story with Lou top 10, and you can find out the other six cars in that lineup. Oh,
Nice.
go scroll back down again. There was another good one that this is for Mary Jo, a little final for nope, down, down. You'll stop past it, up. Oh, you won't miss it when you see it. Keep going up. There it is. Mary Jo, ever seen glowing tires on a car before?
I can't say that I have.
Yeah, I can't say that you have. All right, check out that. Go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, hit the like button. And you too, Mary Jo, can see all of Lou's videos and all of his silly stories as well.
So my final question is like, what's it like to be married to somebody like you, somebody who's like a car fanatic, or like to be friends with somebody like that? Like, how do you relate and
Wait, those
connect?
are two separate questions altogether.
Okay,
There's how
well,
do you
let's take the
married and friends.
okay, friend,
So which
married
one do you
first.
want? Let's do the friends. It's easier because I can answer that. Married, I'd have to bring my wife in and she'd have to sit down and she'd want to do her hair and she'd be like, "Oh my God, Mark's interviewing me. My nails weren't done." I'm like, "Nobody's looking at your nails." No, they are. So that would be a whole different interview. Um, and she'd have to get her hair. She'd be just like that. Like Mary Jo, she'd do that with her hair and it'd be like that. It'd be very complex. Let's see there, Mary Jo goes again with the hair. She's showing us her hair. Very nice.
So a
It
friend.
would look a lot like interviewing Mary Jo. She'd have to do the hair and she'd be like, "Well, Mark," she'd have the nails and she'd show the ring, and the whole thing. Be a different story. It'd be like a jewelry show story. Okay, but
So
let's go back to the more important question. What's it like to be a car friend of Lou? Is that the question?
yeah.
Okay, car friends, they absolutely love being a friend with Lou because, again, they're passionate about the cars. Matter of fact, I could tell a quick story about that. Because I'm not Jay Leno, you mentioned him earlier, they don't have any expectation of me, right? If they don't know me, they're like, this guy came up to me, wants to video my car. I guess I will. It seems like some other people around here seem to think they want. And most people, by the way, they bring their car to a car show to talk about their car with other car people. So when I video their car and they have little expectation, my son has been my editor now for 7 years. So, at the time he was 13, now he's 20, and he's really good at it. So when I send them the video, it sounds like this. Hi, Mark. Thanks for letting me video your cool car. Let me know what you think. Lou, hosts, my car story, subscribers, all this. And here's the video link. And when they see it and they have cars, plural, they say, they reply back, "Lou, that was awesome. By the way, I have more cars," which really interpret that means come by my house and we'll video more cars. And then I'm at their house or their man cave, and usually it's men. 92% of my audience is men. Um, and we're then videoing more of their cars. Well, when they're videoing their cars, this second thing happens is they invite me over. And then we start having, whatever, Lou, have a tea, whatever. And we're driving around in their cars. And I'm turning, people who are usually 45 and up into teenagers because we're doing burnouts and stuff like that and having a silly time. Not all of it I can film. And then the other thing that happens is they're driving and it looks like this. Is this all you do? And then I have to tell them, no, I own these other businesses too. And they're like, oh my God, you're an entrepreneur like me. So the fact that I'm an entrepreneur and then they find that I love cars completely blends us like, oh my God, this is my brother I never knew I had. My mom told me about something, but I didn't realize this is my actual brother from the heaven above. So and it looks kind of like, hold on, I think I could do this. It looks kind of like this, like that. Uh, like all of a sudden the heavens open up and the light comes behind you.
Nice.
Did that answer your question, Mark, or do you need more?
It did absolutely. So
Was it a little too much detail?
no, I don't think so. I thought it was
Okay.
fine. We never got to our.
And it's moves like that with the thing that the halo behind my head, that's why people come to the channel because you never know what Lou's gonna say. And I'll give you one example of that. My son, when he's editing, I look over his shoulder to watch him edit. And when he's editing, for example, this car was red, and I said, "That car looks ridiculous." And he's like, "Ridiculous, Dad? Really? Ridiculous? That's what you come up with?" Or if the car was blue, and I said, "That car is beautiful." He's like, "Beautiful? Really, Dad? You come up with beautiful, huh? These are just pops right in there, huh?" Like, yep, just popped right in, popped right out.
So I have
But
a
it
feeling
makes Mary Jo smile. As long as Mary Jo's smiling,
right. That's exactly right.
that's the
So
same. When Mary Jo smiles, it's the same way I feel when the furniture truck drives up to my house with another couch. So much excitement. I can't tell you the thrill I have, Mark, to see another couch roll into my house.
so we're gonna probably, I'm guessing, having Lou back in the interesting people, and there's a lot more about Lou than just his cars. But his cars are definitely a huge part of it. So if you have any questions, definitely share this podcast with other people. If you know interesting people, connect with us. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye bye.